Hi, everyone. Welcome to the library workshop on finding and developing a research topic. I'm Dr. Denise Cruz. I'm a librarian. I'm actually an instructional librarian, and I help students with research. So please feel free to schedule an appointment with me to work on your research project. You can email me or just stay after this workshop if you would like to do that. It's great to see all your names here. I see I've got somebody else named Denise, so that's cool because I don't meet that many other people with my name. But it's great to see you all here. We will take attendance automatically so that if you are trying to get extra credit by attending, you can we'll communicate that with your professor. I'm going to just share a short PowerPoint with a few points that I want to make and then show you some library tools that are exciting and some online tools. We have a new search system at the library this year, so even if you've used our library system in the past, there might be some new things that you haven't seen before. So hopefully this will help you get started on any projects you're working on. So something I'm really passionate about with helping students write and research is just the power of a good topic. So that's kind of what we're talking about today, is what makes a good topic and how do you know if you have a good topic? What are the criteria for it? And I know a lot of you are probably starting out with research projects in maybe English 102 or another class. A lot of classes on campus here ask you to do major research projects. So you can sort of apply these principles to any class. I'm going to share my PowerPoint again. All right, so this is about using library resources when you're in the beginning stages of research, getting started, and you're not really sure about, you haven't nailed down or committed to a topic, and you're just trying to figure out what will work well. So a few things that you need when you're doing a research project are curiosity, flexibility, knowledge, and creativity. So I just wanted to talk about these as like general approaches to doing research a bit first. The first one, curiosity, just refers to picking a topic that you're motivated to learn more about and that naturally draws you in, because you're going to have to go into a lot of depth, spend a lot of time on it, and hopefully it's something that will draw you naturally. You don't have to force yourself. The next one is flexibility. So a problem that we run into sometimes at the library is, a very rigid research topic where it's hard to find sources on it. And so it's important to be flexible, not just in your topic, but in like the angle or specific way that you focus your topic, and also the words that you use to search for your research. So you have to be able to like think of synonyms and different ways of putting your topic into words, different ways of approaching it, and also be flexible if you need to change it completely or do a slightly different angle on the topic. And I'll talk about that more in a minute. So just being flexible and not being stuck to a certain thing is really important when you're doing research, because you don't know what's out there, and you also don't know what your research is going to tell you. It might contradict something you believe to be true. It might challenge you. It might surprise you. So it's important. Try to turn off your sound if you've got your sound on, your microphone. So it's important to be flexible too about just what your thesis is going to be. When you're starting research, you have a more of a hypothesis, meaning you don't know for sure what is true and you don't know what you're going to argue yet. So you got to be flexible about what you're going to find and what it's going to tell you, and be open to changing your mind about things even. And the next thing is knowledge. So it's really important to have knowledge of your topic in order to effectively research it. You can't just magically expect good sources to come up or a good paper to be written if you don't know that much about the background of your topic. So in these early stages, it's really important to just be exploring your topic and finding basic knowledge about it. And then in becoming an expert, that's really your goal on anything you're researching, is that you be the expert, especially if your professor is giving you a whole semester to research it and then you have to maybe do a presentation or a big paper on it. You really have to like kind of understand the basic knowledge and facts about it. And then the last thing is creativity, is coming up with new ways to approach a topic, coming up with a new question or a new argument or a new angle to do research on it. Maybe some research that's never been done and you want to go out and do some original research, like you want to do a survey of your friends or your family, or you want to go do some interviews with some people you know that are experts or that are witnesses to something. So that's creative, you know, creating new information and research, and also just kind of being able to come up with an interesting and unique angle on a topic. So you're not writing the 1000th paper with the same thesis, you know, and your professors will really be grateful for a creative approach as well. All right, so those are things you want to approach research with. And then the next thing is finding a good topic. So how do you know if you have a good topic for your research? And I'm curious to hear from you guys what topics you're interested in researching, maybe what you're doing in your classes right now. So you want to be sure your topics have the following traits. One, that your topic has unsettled issues, or it's about an unsettled issue, meaning it's not already settled what everyone thinks or believes or knows about this issue. There's an open question or more than one open question about it, meaning there's something mysterious about it or something that people wonder about. Or maybe it's debatable and there's different sides to the issue, different opinions on it, different views. Or it's something that's just been in the news lately and people are just kind of starting to investigate this topic. So something current and unsettled that's still relevant. So you wouldn't want to research something that most people already believe, or that's just kind of stating the obvious. You want to find something somewhat intriguing. The next one is an issue of importance. So that's something that will motivate you and your future readers to care about your topic, meaning maybe it has a moral aspect, or maybe it will get people motivated because it's something most people care about, or you can connect it to something most people care about, like how to be happy as a person, or how to be find who God is and understand God, or how to help children be better educated and grow up and develop better. Those are things that almost everyone is at least intrigued by and it finds important. So, you know, your issue should not just be a totally personal interest, but something other people will find interesting too. The next one, can you narrow down the topic? That's the key number one thing that you're trying to do at this stage, is take a broad topic and narrow it and make it more specific. If you have a narrow topic, it allows you to go into more depth and it's also more interesting. Whereas if you have too broad of a topic, it ends up being shallow and also kind of, you know, more simplistic of a discussion, and also something that probably most people already know. Whereas if you go into a narrow focus and go into a lot of depth with it, you're going to be saying new things about it. And that's another thing, is you want to look for a topic where you have something of your own to say about it, some ideas and some thoughts and maybe some creative opinions or problem solution kind of things that you can contribute to this issue. The next thing you're looking for is, can it be researched? So that's what we're going to look at today, is there material out there about this? Because if there isn't, you either need to go write that research yourself and do it yourself, or maybe change your focus. If you can't just do the research yourself, you have to build on other people's writing to some extent. So we have to see if it's available. And then the next thing is, can you make a convincing argument? Can you find good reasons and good evidence to back up what you want to say about this? That will convince some people and be a convincing discussion. And then the last thing I recommend is, don't pick something that's too sensitive for you. I've seen several times where students or people doing research pick something that really upset them and they couldn't carry on after they invested a lot of time. They had to give up the topic and it sort of became a waste of time to them, and actually led to them not doing well in the class because it was just like too emotionally hard to keep researching the topic. Also, you want to pick a topic where you are able to see different sides of the issue objectively, and it's not going to be too disturbing to you to have to do that. But at the same time, you want something you're passionate about and that you care about. All right, so the next, and feel free to ask any questions if you have a question on the chat or if you want to raise your hand. And raising your hand here is a little button, I think, that you press on Collaborate. So how do you find issues like this? So you start with a preliminary research process. That's where a lot of you are right now because it's the beginning of the semester. That's why we scheduled this week. And so you're not nailed down or committed to a topic yet. And so you're just doing preliminary research to formulate your topic. So that is where you're just kind of trying to gain knowledge and come up with some different questions and issues and angles as a way to focus the topic. So the popular publications on the internet is a great way to do preliminary research. I think that's something that gets skipped over a lot when we take college classes because our professors want us to use academic sources, which is important, but how do we get our ideas and how do we know what people are currently debating and discussing and curious about in our culture? Well, we go maybe on the internet. We look at opinion pieces in magazines, newspapers. We look on social media. We have discussions with our friends and family. We look through bookstores. We look at books. We observe the world around us and just see if there's any problems we notice or just kind of things that are kind of intriguing and we'd like to know more about. Or we get ideas from our classes, like maybe a history class has brought up an idea, or a philosophy or ethics class has brought up a question in your mind, or a theology class, maybe a question about scripture and how to interpret it, which is a great topic. So these are all ways to kind of gather your ideas and brainstorm. And I recommend also reading reference sources, which is like encyclopedias, because they're just sort of brief tidbits of information, and I'll show you how to find those through our library. And you can also read Wikipedia as background to just kind of find some information about your source. You don't want to cite Wikipedia in a paper because you don't really know who wrote it, and you'd have to verify everything in it. But it is a way to start getting to know your topic. So reading encyclopedia type things that are kind of brief overviews of a topic is really good. There's a database we have at the library called CQ Researcher, where it gives you lists and lists of topics and issues, and then it gives you pro and con articles and background information about that topic. So that's a great way if you don't know what to write about, or if you have sort of an idea but you need to see the different sides of the issue, to use that database. It's really good for anyone that's starting out with a research paper. Procon.org is a free website that does the same thing. It collects articles on different sides of issues, and it's a great way to get ideas. I also recommend just jot down notes whenever you think of something. Maybe it's when you wake up in the morning or you're walking down the street and you think of an idea all of a sudden of something that you're interested in. And like I said, social media can be a place to find ideas too. It doesn't mean you believe everything you see on social media or the internet, because obviously we should not believe that. But you might see a question raised, or you might see someone say something and think, is that true? I have to find out. And this research project you're doing is a great chance to like really go into depth and find out if what you see on the internet is true, or what you see on TV or hear on the radio. All right, so that's good places to find ideas. And then the next question you want to ask as you brainstorm is it researchable? So you start with a keyword search, meaning you don't know what sources you're looking for. You don't have a title or an author you're looking for. You just have a few words in your mind that are related to your topic. And so that's the first step. And when you're doing a keyword search, and I'll show you this in a minute, the thing you want to remember is to play with your keywords. You want to use lots of synonyms, meaning think of as many words as you can that mean the same thing as those keywords. And then you can bring those keywords to Primo, which is our search system at the library, and also to the internet. So you could try Google Scholar, and just see what's out there. And again, you're still gathering background knowledge and knowledge of the different issues surrounding your topic. And so see what comes up, just see. And then if you're not getting a lot, change to a different synonym or use fewer words or more words. If the search you're doing is too general and you're not getting specifically what you want, you need to add more words to your search. If your search is too specific and you're hardly getting any sources come up, then you need to broaden it out and use fewer words, so it's less limited. So that is those are a few tips, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. All right. So if it's not researchable, obviously you can't use it as a topic. So you need to, as your preliminary research step, find if there's stuff out there about it. And especially if your project requires a scholarly academic book or article, you have to see if those exist on your topic. The next thing is finding key terms and angles. So every topic that you look at, whoever writes about that topic in academia or in the popular media is going to use certain terminology, and you have to start to become familiar with that terminology. So for example, like if you were writing about capital punishment, you would want to think of different terms that mean capital punishment, like the death penalty or execution, but you also want to think of more specific terms within that topic, like deterrent, meaning does capital punishment deter or prevent people from committing crimes in the future? Another question that has to do with capital punishment is rehabilitation, meaning should we try to rehabilitate murderers rather than punish them harshly? And there's many other sort of like words like that relate to that topic, such as the question of vengeance. Is the government's job to get vengeance for crime, or is it rehabilitation? And so those are some of those questions, and you start to learn those terms as you investigate that topic. And so you start jotting down what are the key terms that researchers and writers use about this topic, and then those will produce better searches for you, more powerful searches as you master the terminology and you gain more expertise on your subject. You have to know it backwards and forwards in order to research it well, in order to try different words. So I recommend trying to understand the background information, like the history of your topic. Are there any key events in history, any key questions that people are asking still, any documents or people or authors that are related, that are famous, that relate to this, any angles, which are subtopics within the subject. So like the question of, does capital punishment deter crime? Is it in line with Christian ideas about forgiveness? Those are angles on that topic. And then terminology, of course, which is the key words related to that. So looks like I uploaded the wrong version of this PowerPoint. All right, that's okay. Obviously that page isn't finished. All right, so the thing that you want to do first, and like I was saying, is it's okay to use the internet, and it's okay to just find some background knowledge so you have a few of those key terms in mind. So maybe some of you could shout out or on the chat some ideas of topics you're interested in. They don't have to be specific. It can be a broad general topic if you want, or I can come up with some. But if you want to type one in that I can use as an example, go ahead. Either people don't know or they're being shy. So a couple examples would be, a lot of students are interested in mental health, like depression or loneliness or anxiety. Social media is a common topic that people research. If you're interested in the Bible, you could research things like church unity and why we have so many denominations. If the Bible talks about unity, spiritual gifts in the Bible, why do some people believe that they're not around anymore and some people do? How do we interpret different sections of the Bible? Another question has to do with COVID and just the modern age, like isolation and loneliness. Are people more lonely nowadays, despite having all this technology to connect us? Those are all some general topics we could use. Okay, Andrea Gray says pronouns. Okay, so I'm guessing you mean like the transgender issue with pronouns. Okay, so right off the top of my head, that to me is a topic that has to do with people's rights. Can you force someone to say your pronouns as you wish them to say them? That's an issue that's kind of being debated in Canada right now. Can people lose their job over the refusal to say someone's pronouns? Is that what you mean? Okay, Brittany says the Civil War, good one. So you start to try to understand specific angles within that. So, and then Andrea, another thing for your topic is, what is the psychological effect for people being able to choose their own pronouns? Is it a good thing for people to be able to create their own identity, or is that sort of a dangerous development in the modern world? Should we more kind of submit to reality than rather than try to create reality? So it brings up a philosophical question. When did people start using these pronouns? Why is that sort of taken off and become a trend? You could look at the history of that. Okay, the Civil War is a good one. There's so many issues within that. We obviously, there's some things about the Civil War that are more settled, right? They're just like, yeah, everyone kind of knows certain factual things. I think most people agree that it was good that, the Civil War achieved what it did, and kept the Union together, and most importantly, ended slavery. It raises some other questions that people don't agree on, like what was Abraham Lincoln's role in all of that? So that could be something to research. The role of modern weapons in the Civil War and whether that changed war for all time by making it more deadly. Okay, so you guys are coming up with a lot of good topics. Gentrification is a good one. So that's the idea that cities that are sort of like run down, when they get fixed up by businesses and people with money, is that a good thing or a bad thing for the city? Because it kind of can drive out people with less money, but it could also make the neighborhood nicer and raise property values. So the Holy Spirit in the Old Testament, that could be a good one. So yeah, and child abuse, there's so many things with that. I mean, how do you define child abuse? Is spanking the same as abuse? Where's the line between punishment and abuse? Why have so many churches and other organizations covered up sexual abuse? I mean, there's a lot of different angles and ways you could go with all of these. So I'm just kind of like brainstorming all different angles and ways to make it more specific. So what I would do then is take that. I have some tabs. Can you guys see my tabs when I change to Google? Can you see that? No. Okay. Let me see. Share application. Okay, so now you can see my whole screen. All right, so I think now you can see it. So let's see, what would be, okay, so let's start with gentrification. That's a good one to start with. So Google suggests a couple things like definition, which is always good to define your main terms. So that could be a good search that's suggested there, but I'm gonna just write in, is it good or bad? Because that's all I know about it so far. It's just that there's a debate over whether it's good or bad. Okay, so here I get some articles from well-known magazines, Vox and House Beautiful, which could be good starting points, because magazines are going to give a good, concise explanation of the main issues and the main terms that are used in discussing this topic. So I really recommend starting with just a general web search like this. And look, you have a Washington Post article, how you can gentrify a neighborhood without pushing out the poor. So kind of having it both ways, that sounds kind of intriguing. So a lot of these are going to be free to look at on the internet, like this one will be free. But the Washington Post one probably will be a subscription article that I can't read. Oh, like here it's letting me read it. So, oh no, see, it won't let me read it. So I would take that article title and take it over to the library to see if we have it there. So it's called Yes, You Can Gentrify a Neighborhood. And so I'm going over to our Primo Search, and this is a good page to bookmark. It's our main search system for the library. And if I find something on the internet that I can't read because of a paywall, I can bring it over here and find it. And we have a newspaper finder up here at the top where I can put in Washington Post. So I'm going to click on that, and then the title of the article. And that's a good way to find any newspaper articles, or there's also a magazine finder here. Okay, but let's go back over to Google. So one thing to look at here is, are these good sources? And it seems like they're not academic, but they are good because they're from credible publications that a lot of people read. We even have a law school that's put up something called Examining the Negative Impacts of Gentrification. We have The Atlantic, which is a well-known magazine. So this is a great way to get background information. We also have nonprofit organizations and the government putting out sources down here at the bottom. This is the NIH.gov, National Institute of Health. We have another university. We've got some social media things debating it. Another university. We got some nonprofits, and you might get a think tank, which is like a political organization that does research. So Google can bring up tons of different ways to see the different sides of your issue. And that's one thing you want to do, is find articles that represent different arguments and different opinions. Then, now that I have a few terms under my belt, so now I know that gentrification is often combined with the word urban and the word poverty. And so I'm going to take that over to our library website. And this is a research guide I've made for people starting out a research project that has kind of all of our main databases and research tools on it. And it has the Primo search that I was just telling you about. So I can start from here or that other page I showed you. So I'm going to look up gentrification and urban and poverty, because I know those are some key terms that are used in discussing this issue. Okay, so now this is our library system. Now notice in the upper right, that's my name. That means I signed in here first so I could see everything that the library has. If you don't sign in, it won't let you read the sources. So make sure that you sign in, and then you can save sources with this little thumbtack up here, or the thumbtack on each source. You can just press the thumbtack. So notice this first source says remote sensing of urban poverty and gentrification. And it says read online. That means the library has it, which is great. And then this one is available online as well. And so notice I get 1,378 results, which is a lot. That's probably too much at first. I don't want to look through that many, right? So I need to narrow it down even more. I could add some more words up here. I could also put some words in quotation marks if I want the words urban and poverty used together. I could add another word, like race often enters into the question. I could add race, or I could do RAC with an asterisk at the end, and then it will bring up different forms of the word race. I could use businesses, because I know it's a lot about businesses, or property value, and aesthetics, which like how a neighborhood looks when it's gentrified could be another way to. So I'm going to just add in some more terms and see what happens here. Okay, so that narrowed it down a lot to 14. So this is why it's important to understand the issues and the terms before you do the research. So that's why I say start with Google or social media or newspapers and magazines, then go to the library search using those terms that you've gained. So now I've got only 14 sources, which is good because I can kind of look through all of those. That's manageable. I can narrow it down over here in the left margin, see where it says full access online. How many of you guys are online only students? And how many of you are, a lot of people. Okay. And then, so the library is totally set up for you guys. And it's also totally set up for on-campus people because we have a wonderful physical library with books as well. Good. Okay. So if you're online only, one thing you can do is click right here on this magic button that says full access online, and that's going to only show you online sources so you can read them like that instantly, which is awesome. Also, if your professor said you need books and articles or peer-reviewed articles, which are like academic articles, you can click on that. But if you really want just more background information, you can also click on newspapers or reference, which, remember, reference is encyclopedias and things like that. So that might be a good starting point. Here it only gives me books and articles and dissertations, which are academic sources. So that means there is academic research on this topic. And that, so you know it's researchable, thumbs up for that. You know it's debatable and unsettled, like people are really discussing this issue. So good job for the person that gave me this issue. You know it's easy to narrow it down. You could look at real estate, you could look at aesthetics, and you could look at poverty, you could look at a lot of different businesses and laws. Should there be laws about gentrification? Those are all different ways you could focus it. I'm going to press new search up here and just do a more general search for well, I'm going to do and I'm going to put an asterisk at the end so I bring up different forms of the word. And I'm going to look up a definition and just see if I can find a good definition of gentrification to start with. And so look, here's the definition of gentrification right in my first source here, but we don't own this source. It's just telling me about the source. Sometimes the library will list a summary of a source, but we don't own it. So how would I get this source if we don't own it? Well, you want to do something called interlibrary loan. See where it says click here to request it through interlibrary loan? So first you go register for interlibrary loan, which we have a special page for that I'll show you here. And all you do is sign up and tell them your address and whether you're a distance student or not. And then you can, request sources we don't own. You can also come over here and narrow it down if you just want to see reference entries, which are just brief encyclopedias, or you just want to see newspapers. So I'll click on reference. You can also narrow it down by date if you need more recent sources. And so this is just 6 things. This is a great way to get background and definition of this topic. And I know in English 102, a lot of you will need newspaper and magazine articles to analyze for your first couple assignments. So you can narrow it down over here by newspapers and magazines or search on Google. Google Scholar is also a wonderful tool that you can link to our library. If you go up here and down to settings and then library links, see, I have it linked to Regent, so it automatically searches our system for stuff from Google Scholar. All right, so just remember, Primo, Google Scholar, all good tools for different purposes. Are there any questions? I don't want to go over, but I'm willing to stay longer if you wish. So Joanna Santos says, do you cite background information? Yes, usually in most research papers, you want a background paragraph. Sometimes it's right after the introduction, or sometimes it's part of the introduction. And yes, you do need to cite it if it's not common knowledge. So basically anything that you would need to look up, you would need to cite, because your professor will want to see that you got it from a good source and also that you gave credit to your source. And okay, so Hattie is a question. Go ahead. Thanks, Dawn. If you go ahead and ask a question if you want, Hattie. Or whoever, I think somebody else has a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was wondering, you were talking about at the beginning, you can look on social media, you can look on all of these different places to flush out your idea.
Yeah.
Do you need to cite those?
If it's just kind of exploration and all you get from it is like maybe just kind of a general understanding of the issues or the terminology, I would say no. But if you get a specific idea or a quote from any of those sources, you should cite it. Like if you read a tweet, it sounds kind of silly, but if you read a tweet that had like a really interesting point or it had some interesting language that you want to quote, you would need to cite it. And a lot of like famous people and experts write on social media, so sometimes you can find good like the people that are writing are credible sources on there. I mean, it's not like an academic source, obviously, but you would want to give credit to it if you got an idea from there. And I think it is valid if you're trying to show that it's a currently debatable issue. It is a valid thing to do that.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
And it is public square and very influential what people write on there, so I think it's okay. Obviously, it doesn't count as an academic source. Okay, Carrie says you don't have to cite all background info, only things you use in your paper. Yeah, definitely. And things that are not common knowledge, so yeah, only things you actually use in the paper. If we want a Regent to link Google Scholar, do we access paid articles for free? Yes. How to link it? When you're in Google Scholar, go up to that little drop-down menu in the upper left, right here, this little hamburger menu with 3 lines, then go down to settings, then go over to library links, and then look up the library you're trying to find, which is Regent University, as you see right here. I've already got it linked. So settings, library links, Regent University, and that's all in the drop-down menu of Google Scholar. And it's a great tool. because Google is a really powerful search engine, as you know. And if you're stuck and you can't find anything, Google Scholar sometimes helps you get unstuck. Okay, did you already ask your question? Okay, Brittany says, if articles all kind of generate the same idea of a topic, would you need to cite it? No, only, only if it's like unique and you got the idea from that source. But if you just see things repeated in different places, the one exception would be if the original idea came from an older source and they're all citing that source, you would want to go back to that older source and cite that as the original place where that idea was written. So, does the library ever go down for maintenance? Rarely, not very often. So, and if it does, try to use our chat function and we can kind of let you know what's going on, or you can call us. The library front desk is 757-352-4150, and they can sort of tell you what's going on and link us. They can also connect you to a librarian if you want to talk to me or someone else during the day. We also have a chat 24/7 and submit a question that I can show you real quick, where it says ask a librarian here. So this is our page where you can get help from librarians. There's welcome to 24/7 chat, submit a question, call. There's all these different options. You can do an appointment scheduler or press this and then you can find us and email us. Like you can press this contact me for me. Yeah. Citations off of Google. You might have to do them yourself or use a citation generator. We have something called RefWorks, where you can start a free account to organize your citations, and it will form a bibliography for you. And so this is where you get your free RefWorks account as a Regent student. Here, actually, I'll just link you right to the page here. I'll put it in the chat. Or you can find different citation generators online. Thank you, Latanya. Oh, and Brittany, you can get quick citations in Primo. Like, see where I did this search here? Let's see. If you're looking at any source, see where these quotation mark icon is. If you click that, it will give you citations in our library system for any edition. So like here, you have a choice of different styles, and it will give you a citation there. All right, and then Madi says how to see which websites and libraries we get access to. Okay, do you mean through the library or outside of the library, Madi? And do you mean like physical libraries or online libraries? Okay, so good. I don't know that we have access to online libraries outside of ours, but we do have interlibrary loan, which is our service that requests books and articles for you from other libraries. And they can usually get most sources that you want. And a lot of times they can get them electronically and just email them to you. So it's like you have access to other people's libraries, but you put that request in through interlibrary loan first. And then if you live wherever, I don't know where you live, but in the city where you live, you might be able to access college libraries as a local resident there. And, but you'd have to probably go into them physically. And Regent is part of a co-op called ATLA with other religious schools where we have access to their libraries. So if there's other like Christian schools around you or seminaries, they might have shared access with us, but it's in the physical library usually. But there are a lot of free websites out there beyond that are not part of libraries that you can use as well. Yes, Joanna. Yeah, you can make an appointment with me or use the chat or the submitting a question, and then we'll get back to you in email if you submit a question. Brittany says, can I get physical books from my local library? No, you don't have to have online sources. You can definitely use paper books. Most professors want you to use books. So yeah, definitely you can use your library. You just want to make sure they're good sources, and that's fine. The local library is a great way to get books and easily. And most local libraries have interlibrary loans, so they can borrow books from other libraries as well if they don't have what you need. And then you don't have to have it mailed to you. But we can mail you physical books from our library too through interlibrary loan. But then you have to mail them back. So or we can send electronic sources a lot of the time for you. So hope that helps. But yeah, and there's Brittany, there's a great website called WorldCat. It's also a database that we have at the library, and it is a way to search for books at every library in the country, basically. And so WorldCat is really cool. It's one of my favorite tools. It's in our database list under W. This is our full database list. And you see here where it says WorldCat, and it's a place to search basically any library, and then you can even see libraries close to you and what they have. Thank you for all your questions. If you have any more, let me know. Thank you for coming.
I have a quick question.
Okay.
Would gentrification be considered significant historical events?
Yeah,
It
I
could
think
be.
so.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll just put up my email here too if anyone wants to email me with questions or set up an appointment. Either way, I can do Zoom appointments online, or you can call me on the phone. Just let me know. And let's see.
What was the rest of that email?
dcruz@regent.edu. So
Okay.
Madi says, so most of the databases are paid. My question is, do we get access to any database? Okay, so I think maybe you're asking about our databases. We have hundreds of them that are all right here. I'll copy that link for you. So notice here on the side, Madi, of the databases, there's a list of research guides. So I made one for people that are starting out with research called Current Issues and Best Places to Start. So you can click on that. It will narrow this list down to just really good websites or databases to start with. But also if you know your topic, like if you know you're doing a business topic or an education topic or a history topic, you can click on whatever it is and it will narrow it down just to education databases. So this is our full database list, and I'll copy that for you here. And so yes, those are all of our paid subscription databases that you have access to as a student. But I showed you Primo because Primo searches most of those. So Primo is a good place to start, and then also to go to those databases as well. So I'll copy that for you as well. Good, thanks Dane and Trish. Yes, first week is overwhelming, right? Hopefully this was helpful and not too overwhelming. I try to keep it a little simple, but I have a hard time with that.
Hello, Dr. Cruz.
Yes.
The link, I just clicked on the link for Primo, and it's coming up as no records found.
For what?
The link,
did you search?
the link I just put in for Primo, regent.primo.
Did you search for something?
Let me see. Make sure to sign in. Okay. Okay.